Mark Abbott is here with Dr. Stan Pethel, and welcome, Stan, to the world of Zoom.
Yeah, isn't it amazing, isn't it?
It really is. It's a crazy world right now. And you know, Stan, I've actually done quite a few interviews in my life, but I've never done an interview. I've done interviews by video and Skype and things like that in a studio, but I've never done one like this before. Whatever. Welcome to the world. I guess you can teach an old dog new tricks, me being the old dog in this case. And but listen, Stan, we are here today to talk about how great our joy, new Christmas musical you've done for Jubilate Music Group on our new Spirit Song imprint. That's another story, but in any event, Stan, welcome. And you know, one of my favorite questions to ask writers and composers and arrangers over the years is, what was your first piece published and when did it get published?
Well, let's see. Mine's kind of a varied story. Back in 1976, you remember that year?
Vaguely. I was chasing a dog with a stick. No, I'm kidding. I remember now 1976 quite well, I'm afraid to say.
Bicentennial year, right?
That's right. That's right.
So I'm a second year teacher, third year teacher at Berry. Bicentennial is a big deal. So I took Patrick Henry's speech, Give Me Liberty, and I said it for choir and organ. It was hard.
Wow.
Our choir at Berry did it. And 4 movements, Give Me Liberty, it was called.
Wow.
And this local publisher in Georgia wanted to put it out. So he published it, and it sold about 12 copies. No, it sold but that was my very first publication.
How about that?
You know, that's a concert kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
Not for church choirs. This is for good college choirs, and it was hard.
Right.
So, and then a few months after that, I wrote a piece for the gospel choir. It was a Baptist publication. You remember they had? Those were great for me. And I wrote a piece. I did a setting of "Are Ye Able," said the Master, and I did it in 6/8. Let's see. Just like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Are ye able, said the Master. So that was in the gospel choir. And that was my first, you might say, nationwide.
Yeah. Interesting. Was David Danner editing that magazine back in those days?
Those days, it was Mark Blankenship.
Oh, Mark. Okay.
Mark did that.
Yeah.
So that kind of started. I did a ton of stuff for those periodicals back in the years. So.
Yeah, I actually got a few things in there.
Gospel choir, choral praise.
Yeah.
They came along with the "You Can" later, so I think all that's gone now. But it was big time for me.
That's great, Stan. That's great. Well, now you know, things have certainly changed since those days in the church world, to say the least. And worship has changed, and thank God, though, we still got some great choirs out there that still like singing choral music in churches. Although, and we won't even get into the whole COVID-19 world, but I do believe that you know, we'll be opening back. Choirs will be returning, of course. We don't know. It's not if, but when. And we're certainly hoping and praying that day is as soon as possible for all of us. But all of that aside, with the current world we live in that sense, Stan, you know, again, back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, I call that kind of the golden age of the choir. And I think the golden age, I've never said this publicly before. I've said it to friends of mine in the publishing business. I think the golden age of the choir for now is ended, but so did the golden age for broadcasting and radio and Broadway and television and a lot of things. But those industries are still alive and well. And so they just adapted.
We're not going to go away. There's always going to be church choirs. But
amen.
But the days when you had had 3 children's choirs, a youth choir, and an adult choir, and they all met and rehearsed and bought music. Those days are kind of gone.
Yeah, and who knows who knows how the pendulum may swing someday. You know, who knows? The pendulum may swing back there. But I do believe, though, that there is still a robust market out there, and there are robust choral programs out there. But I guess my question to you becomes, what might you say to those directors who do your music, who have done your music, who continue to do your music, to encourage them to keep carrying that choral music banner in churches these days?
Well, there's nothing that brings to life a congregation or a worship service than a group singing. And there's nothing wrong with the contemporary style, with the soloist and the microphones, but you get everybody involved, congregational singing, choir singing. That's what lifts up the spirits in a worship service, more so than an individual. No, individuals can, but
yeah.
If you get choir singing, you've got a united effort, a group of people with one common goal, singing one song. And that's just an important thing. So I think abandoning church choirs is not a good idea, although some have, but still, that to me is the essence of the worship service, is the choir singing and enforcing the congregational singing and using piano, organ, orchestras, whatever you got, to focus your worship in a group corporate effort. That's an important thing to do.
Amen to that. And Stan, long before I met you, and that was many, many years ago when I first met you, as we both know. Yeah, over 30 years ago when we first met, Stan. But before I met you, as you know, as I've told you many times, I was doing your music and with choirs, and still to this day, of course. But the thing I remember thinking about you and your writing before we met was, this guy can do any style out there. And I remember telling friends of mine that, saying Stan Pethel can do any style that you put in front of him, evidently. I mean, how has that come about? I mean, you can do gospel, you can do classical, you can do pop rock. How did that gift, I mean, I'm sure it's certainly a gift, but you must have cultivated that somehow.
It's just through experience,
Yeah.
My family life was gospel music. My dad played gospel stuff, just a little talk, the Songs of Inspiration #4 was on our piano, and the Red Book, the church choir Red Book, church hymnal. So that was my roots. Then I joined the band, and I learned about, writing instrumental music. I played the trombone. I was going to be a basketball player, but I had a medical issue.
Oops.
And the doctor said, you can't play basketball when I was 13. That was a crusher, by the way.
Wow, I'll bet.
I took up the trombone instead, and now I have a doctorate in trombone, right? So it's amazing. But that was that. And then, I was part of the rock and roll generation, let's face it. So I was in the classical world. I did a music education degree. I played in orchestras, and I was in a rock band for 2 years. We played all over the Southeast. That was a great time, though. Blood, Sweat, and Tears, Chicago.
Yeah.
Soul stuff, Motown.
Yeah, that's great stuff.
So I learned that style, and then I was in a couple of bluegrass bands. And, just growing up in northeastern Georgia, it was rural. So I just decided there's not just one kind of music. There's many different types of music, and you can do them all well. And so I try to do that, and I translate into my writing. And so styles are no problem. Whatever style you need,
Yeah.
Some just think of me as a gospel writer. Some think of me as a more high church writer.
Right.
Some think of me as a children's writer. Fine, as long as you buy the music, I don't care.
Amen. Preach on, brother. No, exactly. I love that. And though, Stan, one of your niches, I will say, style aside, that you have cultivated and developed over the years, which I think is a very natural for you, is that small choir. And I mean, and such is the case with this new musical you've written for Jubilate Music Group, How Great Our Joy. Talk about your heart for the small choir, and then we can get into the specifics about How Great Our Joy.
Well, there are, in our county here, Floyd County in northwestern Georgia, there are about 70 Baptist churches, 30 Methodists, another assorted denominations. We've got about 120 churches here. Now, it's not true that they all have choirs,
right.
But those that do I would say there's probably 3 or 4 that have 40 or more voices. The rest are 20 or less. And so I feel like those churches need music they can sing and sound good doing, that you don't have to have a big choir to make them sound good. So melody's important, accompaniment important. And you don't have to have a big pageant to make it sound good. So I've been involved with large church Christmas pageants, where you got orchestra, I played the trombone, and you got the orchestra down there and 40 voices, 50 voices singing this big Christmas pageant. And it's wonderful. But that music is not accessible by my little church choir at Everett Springs Baptist Church, where I am now, with 16 voices and a good piano player.
Well,
So,
who happens to be your wife?
That would be my wife. Isn't she good, though?
She's great. She's great.
Yeah. I've been working with her, so she's coming along. But she's great. So, but that's my heart. I was raised in a medium-sized church, and all the churches I've served, and I've served 4 here in the county and 1 when I was in college, they're basically, 20 voices. And they're great people. They can't always sing harmony. But if you just sing the melody and with a good piano player, you're fine.
Yeah.
I would guarantee if you polled the congregation and said, did your choir sing SATB this morning? Most of them would say, what's SATB?
Exactly.
Is that a vaccination or something? So they would not know. As long as you could give them some. So if you give them some melody and if they can sing harmony, great. Yeah. And so that's where, especially here in the South, I think nationwide, the heart of worship, the heart of church life is the medium to small church running, 40 to 100 in through there. Now, they're mega churches, obviously. I've been to them. I went to a big First Baptist in a town around Atlanta not too long ago. Huge choir, and they sounded wonderful. But my little choir can't sing that.
Yeah.
Well, by the way, I get to orchestrate some of those things.
Exactly.
And they sound great.
Oh, you bet.
I give it the Pethelization, when I treat them, and they sound wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, so,
that's the way to do it. You're writing for what you work with and what you've known so well all these years. And it works, obviously works. It's worked, Stan, for a very, very long time for you and a whole lot of church choirs out there. And that's great. Shifting gears to specifically talk about How Great Our Joy. There's a Song of the Year with you last year. It sold very well, and we had some great reception to that musical that you wrote. And so now you've come back to us with How Great Our Joy, another wonderful 20-minute musical that is singable, doable by that medium to small church choir. What thoughts do you have about How Great Our Joy, Stan?
Well, whenever I do a musical, whether it's any seasonal musical, I want a thread that kind of holds it all together. Obviously, with Song in the Air here, that was our thread. I mean, it worked for Wagner, it worked for Hindemith, it worked for Berlioz, it worked for all those guys. Yeah. So I want a little ID fix or a leitmotif, you might say, that we can kind of quote throughout the piece. So with How Great Our Joy, it's that tune, bum, 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 and it's the joy theme, right? The joy theme. Yeah. So we crafted these arrangements of, and I think also a good church musical for the medium-sized church to small is that it have a mix of familiar carols and original material. So we tried to do that in this one and tie it together with the narrator. And I had the idea, I know you know about it. Yep. Used the narrator Asher, who is a young boy. He was a shepherd boy at the time, and he's on the hillside when the angels come, and we let Asher trace the life of Jesus. He's 12 years older, so he can report. And so that narration kind of ties the songs together. There's 7 songs, and they go all the way from, the angels singing to a little bit of the shepherds in there, and then we got the wise men coming. So you got to get those Christmas traditions in there, right? Which I think are important that we know that. And so we got original things and other arrange for some things that everybody knows. And it's a good combination. So, and like you say, 20, 25 minutes, depends on how long the narrator can talk or how fast he talks.
Right.
Maybe one solo.
Right.
One solo. Just about every church has that one soloist.
And the pastor's wife can sing it just fine.
Yeah, she can sing. That's right. So if there's one good solo, and if you don't have a solo, I talked to some guys, friends of mine that did, there's a song in the air. In fact, one did it with a senior adult choir, and it hits the senior adult choir market just fine.
Yeah.
Most church choirs are also senior adult choirs now. I know mine is. But my good friend in Huntsville, he did it with his senior adult choir, has a soprano soloist. None of the ladies wanted to sing the solo, so he had them just all sing it in unison.
Right, right.
You know, you can adapt, you can make it work for your group. So that's the concept with How Great Our Joy, and I think it'll work fine. If you have a choir of 40, you'll sound great. If you got a choir of 20, you'll sound good. If you got a choir of 12, do the best you can, and you'll sound fine, especially with the wonderful tracks that we got to go with it.
That's right, that's right. They're phenomenal tracks, and you orchestrated it, of course. And the orchestration is available separately from Jubilate Music Group. And I will say about Song of the Air, Stan, last year, we made the orchestration available since we know that it's generally targeted at that medium to small church choir. I didn't know how we were going to sell, but we got a lot of requests for that orchestration last year for Song of the Year. So that's really kind of cool. So it's good that we'll make that available this year. You mentioned the narration with Asher, which is kind of the shepherd boy who's now all grown up. So that part is played. The narrator can be an adult, obviously. Absolutely, as he kind of does the flashback. And then there will be optional downloadable drama once again this year for How Great Our Joy, like we had for Song in the Air. Had a lot of great response to that last year. A lot of people downloaded that. And so, yeah, I just think it's a complete package, Stan. It really is. I mean, it hits all the right areas.
And back to the orchestration. As long you can play, you can use the tracks. And if you've got in your, I doubt if many churches have a full orchestra. There are some, but not many. Right. But you got a clarinet player and a trumpet player and a flute player and maybe a trombone player or something. You can just have them play along as long as the piano's playing or the tracks.
You're right.
And that will give them something to do and feature them a little bit. You don't have to have everybody. If you got one flute, get the flute orchestration.
There you go.
Part, have them play along.
There you go.
They'll love it. The parents will really love it.
Yeah, you got that right.
And if the deacon chairman's daughter plays the flute, put her out
there. I love it. I love it. Makes me think of that final scene in The Music Man when the kids are playing in the band. Yeah. And all the parents are just real happy about those kids playing those instruments.
Yeah, so, you played that part, right? You played the
I'm sorry?
You played the Music Man part.
Yes, I did once upon a time, and not that long ago, too. I was way past my prime to do it, but I still did it. But in any event, Stan, this is great. We're so happy to have this musical coming out this year. And, you know, I will say one final thing about the world we live in, I think, currently, you know, and that is that I think it's the kind of musical that you can pull together with a minimal amount of rehearsal. If some churches don't get back to rehearsals maybe until, you know, the early fall or even the late fall, we hope they'll get back this summer, you know, for those church choirs who do have rehearsals during the summer. A lot of them take the summers off. But in any event, you know, no matter what the situation might be this year for your particular church out there with when you're going to start rehearsals, How Great Our Joy, I would think, you know, again, I've conducted many Stan's cantatas with my own choirs over the years. You could pull it together with not a ton of rehearsals. You could do it and still sound great.
Yeah, my goal is 6 rehearsals.
Perfect.
6 rehearsals. You know, you're going to sing it either the Sunday before Christmas or 2 Sundays before Christmas.
Right.
So just start working on it. But here's the other thing. Start before Thanksgiving. Start early November because you're going to take the Wednesday before Thanksgiving off.
That's right.
Okay. And then some people are going to get sick and they're going to travel. So set your date either the Sunday before Christmas or 2 before, back up 6 weeks, not counting the Thanksgiving week, and there you go. That's
great, Stan. Great advice. Truly spoken from a person who's obviously done this and still does it for many, many years, not only obviously the writing part, but the directing part. So Stan, listen, you are truly a gift to the church music world for decades, and in providing quality, incredible, usable, singable music for the local church choir. And so thank you on behalf of so many people, not only me and my fellow music publishers who put it into print all these years, but the people who are using it. And so we just say, keep it up, and many years to come, and many more musicals to come. And absolutely. And thanks, Stan, for being with us today. And again, thanks for all you do.
Well, I appreciate it. And thanks for being my conduit, because without you guys, I'd just be running off on Xerox machines.
That's right.
We got a place that we can market and we can provide music for the church, for the glory of the Lord, and for the worship in many ways, not just at Christmas, but throughout the year. And so just thanks for your efforts too. I couldn't do it without you publisher guys.
Thank you, Stan. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And thanks to all of you for watching this interview here, this Stan Pethel. And click on the digital reading session below this box, and you will see you can preview the entire musical with the music of flying by, and we're scrolling by, and the music playing. How great our joy, Stan Pethel. Thanks again for watching.
Okay, later.